Hey, second graders, it's Mrs. Cluin, and I am back for our next writing segment. Today I'm actually going to read you another story. This story is called I Need My Monster by Amanda Knoll. Now, I think a lot of you are probably thinking, hey, Mrs. Cluin, this is writing time, not story time. But the best writers read lots and lots of stories. They get awesome ideas for characters, for settings, for a plot of a beginning, middle, and end, and they just read a ton. So we're going to read this book today because actually we're going to be writing a monster story of our own. And this book is going to be a guide for our structure of the story, or how we make our beginning, middle, and end fit together. And so we're going to listen carefully. Today I'd like you to really hone in on the characters of the story, and the descriptions in this story are awesome. So listen to those key words, the descriptive words that describe our characters. You're going to know immediately who the main characters are, and I think you're going to love the story. Let's go. I Need My Monster by Amanda Knoll. Tonight, when I looked under my bed for my monster, I found a note instead. Gone fishing. Back in a week, Gabe. What was I going to do? I needed a monster under my bed. How was I supposed to get to sleep if my monster was gone? I tried to sleep, but it just wasn't the same without Gabe. I missed his ragged breathing, his nose whistling, the scraping of his uncut claws. How would I ever get to sleep without Gabe's familiar scary noises and spooky green ooze? It was no use. Gabe would be gone for a week, and I just had to have a monster. I climbed quietly out of bed so my parents wouldn't hear me. Grown-ups have some strange ideas about monsters under beds. I knocked on the floorboards. Then I scrambled back under my covers. I waited nervously. Would a new monster appear? What would it be like? Would his snorting be as cheerful as Gabe's? When I heard some creaking under my bed, I knew that the substitute monster had arrived. "Good evening," said a low, breathy voice. "My name is Herbert, and I will be your monster for the evening." Herbert? What kind of name is that for a monster? You don't sound scary at all. Have you ever scared a kid before? Well, no, but I read all the best books on the topic. Do you have long teeth and scratchy claws? I asked. No, but I have an overbite, and I'm a mouth breather. Listen, hee-hoo, 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 hee-hoo. Herbert's panting was kind of scary, but it wasn't enough for me. Listen, Herbert, I'm sorry. I just don't think this is going to work out. It's nothing personal, but I really need a monster with claws. Picky, Herbert complained. As you wish, I'll go. There was some more creaking, then Herbert was gone. Some scratching warned me a second monster had appeared. "Good evening," he said in a high, silky voice. "My name is Ralph, and I understand you need a monster with claws. If you would please lean over, I will hold out an arm for inspection." I crouched on the edge of the bed, hoping to see horrible, shaggy arm with sharp, ragged nails. Instead, I was surprised to see sleekly brushed fur with smooth, shiny claws. "Excuse me, I don't mean to be rude," I asked, "but is that nail polish on your claws?" "Yes, it is," Ralph replied. "I believe professional monsters should always be well groomed." I could tell that this was not going to work. Either I'm sorry to disappoint you, Ralph, but I need a monster with scary claws, like Gabe's, I thought. I heard some more scratching, and I knew Ralph was gone. A minute later, a third voice from under the bed rasped, "Check out these claws, kid." I gathered my courage and peered over the edge. The claws were impressively jagged and dark and razor sharp. So far, so good. I was a little nervous. Could you stick out your tail? I whispered. Sure, but don't get scared. I peeked through my fingers at the slimy tail slithering over the foot of my bed. That's when I noticed the bow. Are you a girl monster? Of course I am, she snapped. I'm Cynthia. Do you have a problem with that? Yeah, I do, I admitted. I definitely need a boy monster. And girl monsters are for girls. Everybody knows that. Well, aren't you a picky one? She sniffed, and then she was gone. Was I being too picky? No. I know that my monster needed to be well-clawed and menacing. The whole point of having a monster, after all, was to keep me in bed, imagining all the scary stuff that could happen if I got out. Then I heard a shuffling noise and some slobbering. A fourth monster was under my bed. Hey, the name's Mac. One look at the claws proved that Mac was a big, scruffy boy monster. I shivered. Maybe this one would work out. Those are excellent claws, but do you have a long tail? I leaned over to see. No, my tail is stubby, Mac slurped, but I do have an unusually long tongue. Why would I be afraid of a long tongue, I asked. Oh, I don't know, he said, trying to sound terrifying. You never know when I might lick you. I fell back on the bed laughing. Oh, well, if you're not even going to try to work with me, Mac whined. I held in my giggles. I really don't think that you should send me away, he warned. Kids who reject 5 monsters in one night. I did not reject 5 monsters tonight, I interrupted. My regular monster went fishing. Fishing, eh? Maybe he just left because you're so picky. Fine, I'm out of here, but I wouldn't expect another monster tonight if I were you. How was I ever going to sleep without my monster? I was surprised to hear more creaking under my bed, loud creaking with scratching. I thought more monsters were going to appear tonight, I said. Sorry, I'm late, kid. Who? Oh my gosh, it was Gabe. I thought I would enjoy fishing, but I didn't. Those fish scare too easy. No challenge at all. You, however, are challenging, my friend. You're almost too old to be afraid of monsters. You keep me on my toes. Ah, toes. A delicious snack. The bed quivered as Gabe's stomach rumbled with hunger. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to start the evening with an ominous puddle of drool. I peeked over the edge of the bed. Green ooze spread soundlessly from underneath. Then the bed trembled as Gabe spiked his tail up. He was daring me to guess where he might pop up. I shivered. So you had some substitute monsters tonight, Gabe said, sharpening his claws on my bedpost. Were you scared? Then Gabe started tapping. I could tell he wanted to know if I still needed him. No other monster can scare me like you, I giggled, diving under my covers and pulling them up tight. Through the blanket, I heard Gabe's soft, comforting snorts. Ha! I knew it. We're made for each other, he growled. When my blanket started to slip off my bed, I knew Gabe was ready to eat. Now, if you could just please stick out your foot, he said. I'd like to nibble on your pinky. I yanked my blanket back up and scrunched my feet so Gabe couldn't get them. No toes tonight, but you can have this, I offered, pushing a pillow off the bed. I didn't even hear it hit the ground. Gabe was back. The ooze was perfect. Everything was back to normal. I shivered again. I'd be asleep in no time. What an awesome book. It was really great how they described the monsters in this book, wasn't it? Let's go back and take a look about how the author described Gabe. It said that he had ragged breathing. He had nose whistling. He had scraping, uncut claws. He had spooky green ooze. And those are just some of the descriptive words in I Need My Monster. So for today's assignment, what we're actually going to do is you're going to go into Seesaw, and you're just today going to look at a page of adjectives. Adjectives are descriptive words that describe nouns. And you're going to look at this list of words, and you're going to start to decide how you want to describe your monster, because you're going to write a story about your monster leaving town. And I want you to really think about what kind of monster you might create, and just look at the list, maybe pick at least one adjective from each of the categories that you'll see in there to determine what type of monster you want to create tomorrow. Tomorrow we're actually going to draw our monsters and label all those characteristics that you pick for your very own monster. So have fun starting your creation, and I'll see you tomorrow.